Hi, Dave Smith here with another of my photo book type videos. I'm sure you all know by now that I post videos when I feel like I've got something to say, and let me start that again. I post videos when I feel like I've got something to say, and I've done quite a lot of work on bookmaking recently. I've also made some super large prints, and they will feature in a subsequent video, but for now let's have a look at these. Now this one isn't a handmade book. I actually had Blurb make this book, and it's not really a photo book as such. The images are definitely not of photo quality. This is what they call a trade book, and actually what I've done is to pull together the works that I've been doing for the MFA. Now again, if you follow me, you'll know that a year ago in last September, so this is now a year and a half into the course, I started an MFA in photography with Ulster University. If you want to know more about that, then drop me a line and I'll answer any questions. I'm not sure that I would recommend the experience, but I am most of the way through it now, and it is going pretty well. What I've done with this book is to gather together the images for the various projects that have been shot as part of this MFA, and I've put in the sort of course report that was required as part of the assessment, and I've put in the 2 essays required as part of the assessment. Now all of that has been graded at distinction level, so it occurred to me that as a collection it might be of interest to people who were thinking about doing an MFA themselves, and serve as a kind of indicator as to the sort of standard and the sort of work that's required. Now, so I mean, it's by no means a photo book. Don't buy this because you're buying it for the images, if indeed you want to buy it. It is what I'd call a hand-finished book, because I did tip in this series of images here. We'll have a closer look at that when we do the close-up of the book. But everything is in there, and my intention is to follow this up with a volume 2, which will be the last semester. So it'll be the a copy of the final dissertation and a copy of the final realization. So this series of images that are finally chosen as the submission for the MFA in photography from the thousands that have been shot so far, and indeed I think there are something like 6 sub-projects within this, and they will be whittled down as well. And at the moment I'm thinking that there might be 2, but maybe 3. I'm not completely certain yet. Now, if you want to buy a copy of this, then it is £25. I think, as I say, I think it might be of interest and use to somebody who's interested in MFA, or you'd just like to know what's involved in an MFA, or you'd like to take your photography in a direction that's responsive in the art sense. And I don't mean that in the way that a lot of photographers describe themselves these days as fine art photographers because they print on giclée or they photograph in black and white or something. Art is to take photography into art is a much more cerebral exercise, and so if you're interested in that, this might be a book of some interest to you. Anyway, let's take a closer look at what's in this book and how it's constructed and what I've done with it and how it looks, and you can decide for yourself. As I say, if you want a copy, drop me a line, £25 each, plus shipping of course. Anyway, I hope that's of some interest. Bye for now. Here's the book itself. You can see I've done, this won't open out completely flat because of the nature of the photography, but that's the ring of Brodgar on the Orkney Isles, wraps right around the book. Let's have a little look inside. Let's open this out. This is the only one of these flyout sheets that I included. This set of images shot in infrared, and there are 11, and the idea was that I used the highest burst speed on the camera, which is 11 frames per second, and so those 11 frames represent 1 second of time, and this idea of impermanence and transience caught photographically. So you're looking at 1 second on that spread. And that's printed on that origami paper that I tend to use for tipping into books, which you've seen in some previous books. And you can see here, this is a view approaching Herschel Lynn waterfall. The printing of the images is not what I would call photographic quality, but this isn't really intended as a photo book. It's more of a sort of more of a review of the MFA and providing people with some idea of what's involved in undertaking a Masters in Fine Art in photography. So I've brought together in this first section all the waterfall images that have been photographed. This image, quite interesting, this is low force in Middleton and Teesdale, and if you look in this top left corner here, you can see a lot of blur, and this is actually motion blur because this was shot at night under a full moon, and the full moon is behind me from where I'm shooting, and so the exposure is very long, of course, and so you get all this motion blur in the trees because it was quite a ferocious night. There was a storm heading my way in the next sort of day or two, and I was right at the front of this storm. It was a pretty ferocious night. This was shot, this is also low force. This was shot in January, and you can see fresh snowfall everywhere. And I visited this waterfall at the beginning of the month, every month throughout 2022. Then we've got this, this is from the project report, how the project developed over time from these early beginnings with the waterfalls. This is high force. Then I went out to Blackhole Rocks. This is a beach in County Durham, and these were all shot under the light of the full moon. These are magnesian limestone, which is peculiar to this part of the country. And as I say, all shot under the full moon. Then I decided to visit the Orkneys because I was looking at sort of ancient times, man's imprint on the world, and of course the Orkneys is a great site for Neolithic remains. This is a cairn, a burial mound in Orkney. These are the standing stones in the Ring of Brodgar. This is a Iron Age block. This is also a block. This was shot in infrared. This is barn houses shot in infrared. That's the Ring of Brodgar. Some more of the stones in the Ring of Brodgar. The block, Iron Age block. And this has become a fairly central theme to the MFA, this idea of ancient trees, and this tree here is probably at least 1,000 years old. It is, I believe, a horse chestnut tree. And here are some more images of old, if not ancient, trees. And these are all shot on 5x4 film. This is quite an interesting spot. This is a group of, I think, 5 or 6 trees that grow very close together. So although they look like 5 or 6 trees above ground, below ground they're probably a single organism. And that put me in mind of Robert Macfarlane's Underland. And if you haven't read Underland, I highly recommend it. Here are some more images of that ancient tree. There we go. Then we had some further developments. So this is more of the course report. And this led me to the submerged forest. Let me turn that around for you. These were shot in half frame on film. Particularly because I could shoot freely and I could make these diptychs and triptychs. The submerged forest is, as it sounds, it's a forest that was submerged by the change in sea levels around 10,000 years ago that cut Britain off from mainland Europe. And this is the first of the essays that were produced in semester 2 of year 1, which scored at distinction. And then this is the second essay. This also scored at distinction. Just flip through this, and that's a repeat of the image that's being defended by that essay. The first essay required a critical bibliography of 2 sources, and the second required a critical bibliography of 6 sources. These are reproduced here, and then there are the list of references for the essays and for the project itself. So there are something like 5 bibliographies in there. Okay, so I hope that's been of some interest. If you're interested in buying a copy of that, like I say, that's £25. Drop me a line, and there will be a second volume to this probably in the summer or autumn time when the course is finished. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.